The Adventures of Julia and Doug. Do-do-do. Oh, welcome to The Adventures of Doug. I'm Julia. That's Doug.
Hi. The Adventures of Doug.
What?
He said, welcome to The Adventures of Doug.
I didn't.
You want to watch the video?
I do want to watch the video.
Yep.
No, we'll just keep going.
Oh, okay.
Welcome to The Adventures of Julia and Doug.
There we go.
You said Dulia when you were trying to correct me just then. So now we're both wrong.
Okay. We're both wrong.
We'll have to sing it again. The Adventures of Julia and Doug. Do-do-do. Okay. Okay. Wow. That was a really tough adventure. And sometimes it's hard, you guys. Welcome to The Adventures of Julia and Doug. I'm Julia.
And I'm Doug.
This is that guy. He's Doug, apparently. And these are our adventures, chronicling our adventures. You may be listening to us on our podcast or watching us on our YouTube vlog. That's what the youths are calling it nowadays. The youths. And we are a normal couple who went from normal suburban life to living on the road. Full time, yeah. So we packed up our stuff and rented our house out and got ourselves an RV and took a 6-month road trip.
Went on a huge adventure.
That's right.
And
yeah.
These are the stories of that adventure.
That's right. And we're going to have lots more because we are selling our house and going to move on the road full-time.
We're going to have full-time stories.
Full-time stories, not just 6-month full-time stories.
Exactly.
Like full-time stories. Yeah. So episode 1 was kind of like who we are, what we did, and all the mistakes that happened.
Shakedown, first trial, getting used to the RV trip.
Yes, we'd never ridden in an RV before we decided to do this. And so episode 2 we just found out was kind of what we called the story from the trip.
Yes.
It's our big one, our kayak story, the highlight. But right off of that, we decided we would actually jump back into kayaking for our 3rd episode. So we've been in kayaks 3 times in our lives. The first was a fun time with friends in Wisconsin. The second time was
a near-death
experience in the last episode. And the third and last time we've ever been in kayaks was with our same friends in Wisconsin, and also a near-death experience.
For one of them.
less near death for some of us. So after Minnesota, which we just left off in Minnesota in episode 2.
We went to Wisconsin
to visit some friends of ours who are super outdoorsy people. We love them to death. And they're the ones who have kayaks and introduced us the first time. And
July 4th of 2019.
It was July 4th, 2019. That's how we spent the 4th of July. And so after we had kind of figured out that we were going to go kayaking on the 4th of July, we realized that there had been a storm the night before.
Yeah.
And
in the area we wanted to go to.
And so another storm.
Yeah, another storm. I didn't think about it.
I just got that. So our friends, the kayaking experts, said, well, this one place that I wanted to take you, it's flooded, it's dangerous, but there's this new place that
he's never been
to go to.
And he always wanted to try.
Always wanted to try it. It's this new place.
So let's take the new people on the one he hasn't been on.
Yes. Yay! And we were like, okay. Let's go. It'll be fun. It'll be great. We were a little wary after our last kayaking experience, which was, I think, less than a week prior to that.
Yes.
Less than a week prior to this was our harrowing kayak journey of near death.
And here we are back on kayaks.
Here we are back on kayaks. We never thought it was going to happen, and here we are. So we pack up our stuff, and it turns out that our dear friend wanted us to drive 2 hours to get to this river.
And it's going to be in 2 cars because you have to have 2 cars.
You got to drop the stuff off at the top of the river and then
drop off the car and then come back.
Yep.
So
because you got to have a car at both ends.
2 hours to get there, and then we waited with the kayaks for them to do the cars, which was another half an hour.
Yes. It was a long trip.
As we got chased by mosquitoes.
Oh my gosh, there were
Remember the mosquitoes?
so many bugs.
There's like 1,000 of them that would just follow behind your head.
Yeah, they would just follow you and you'd run away and they would be like, okay, I'll come over here now. And then you'd run away and they'd be like, oh, okay, I'll follow you over here now. I
had a branch with leaves on it and I was just constantly doing this.
It was crazy. I
half an hour.
forgot about those mosquitoes. It was bad.
Oh.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
So our friends come back and we finally hit the water. Woo! And
it was nice at first. It was great.
Nice.
Just that. What are they called? Ripples.
Riffles.
Little riffles.
So like
not a ripple, but a riffle.
I don't know. It's a riffle.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure. It's not a rapid.
It's not a rapid.
It's a riffle.
Yes.
So we're leisurely again, like the first time, eating and drinking and
having a great time,
floating, paddling here and there. There's a eagle. There's a hawk. There was an otter we saw.
Yeah, we saw the otter. Remember?
We saw an otter. That was really cool, like a river otter.
Did we see a river snake?
We may have seen a river snake.
Maybe a snake too.
I don't remember a snake.
I think we saw a snake. There was a deer that ran across.
Oh yeah, the deer.
Remember the deer that ran through the river?
It was crazy.
Yeah,
we were coming. We're like on the river,
and
this deer just goes
splashing
and runs across the river.
So it wasn't that deep.
It wasn't that deep. It wasn't. It was only about. I'm 5'6". It was about a little higher than my knee, so low thigh.
Points, yeah. At other points, you would hit rocks.
Yes, we did have to be careful for that. Anyway, so we're like a little trepidatious. We're a little nervous about all of this, but we're easing into it, and it gets like better and better. We see deer, we see wildlife, eating and drinking, hanging out with our friends, and going on these riffles that aren't rapids, and it's kind of fun or whatever. And we get to this spot where, as Doug was saying, it's really shallow and there's a lot of rocks and there were like boulders. And so we're like trying to navigate through this area that's very like shallow and we're hitting the bottom.
But the water speeds up when it gets shallow.
Yeah, so the water's going fast and we're getting stuck on rocks and we're trying to push ourselves off and stuff. And none of us have ever been on this river before. And all of a sudden we hear it. The water.
You get to hear it coming up.
Yeah, it's like, in those cartoons where they're like, waterfall. And then they go over the waterfall. It was like that. It was just like that. It was just like
50
that.
feet.
Emperor's New Groove. Just fall right off. Okay, it wasn't like that. But we could hear rushing
coming
water.
Up to it and get the adrenaline going and it's like, wait, what's up there? And you can't really see. And
until
you're on top of it.
Right. And we battled some riffles before where, zip, wee, and we all
made it all the way through.
We all did well. And then we hear this and we're like, oh boy, there's a lot of water there. And not only is there a lot of water, there's rocks, there's boulders. So not only are there boulders and then this like, I'm not going to say huge to us, drop off.
A little bit of a decline.
It probably went down, what would you say, 2 or 3 feet?
Yeah, over the distance of maybe like 20 feet.
Yeah, so over 20 feet of distance, it went down 2 or 3 feet.
Straight into a cliff.
So,
and then the water took a 90-degree turn, and the river continued that way. So
yeah,
at a fast pace.
So you have your 2 kayak trip novices where they nearly died on the last
Third time
trip.
in the river.
And we have our 2 friends who kayak a lot, and one of them said before we got out there, oh, by the way, I'm not a very good swimmer, so I like to have my life jacket nearby. I'm so glad she said that too, because I wouldn't have even known. So we had life jackets, but none of us were wearing them because, we're too cool for school.
You could just stand up in the river in most places.
Yeah, you could stand up in the river. So anyway, our friend, the kayak expert, goes first. Here's the cliff. Here's the waterfall.
So as he goes through.
So he goes through and he goes.
And then starts to turn and then goes right through it.
And so he avoids the cliff. Perfect. And we're like, yay, he did it. And then his wife goes right after, the one who
is afraid of water. Or
She's not afraid of the water.
No,
she
sorry.
says she's not a strong swimmer.
Not a strong swimmer. Sorry.
She's not afraid of the water. She just says she's not a strong swimmer.
Okay.
So.
And not wearing her life jacket.
Not wearing her life jacket. So she goes like this, hits the wall, and flips over.
It turns and then starts to go under, and then the water catches it, fills it, and then flips
her over.
And that all happened within like 2 seconds.
It was like, boom, crazy fast. And so
she's out.
And so I'm like, oh my gosh. And Doug had been coming kind of right behind her.
5 seconds behind.
And so she flipped. She popped up out of the water and she stood up real fast.
Holding onto the cliff.
And then here comes Doug. I mean, it was like, here, you be you and I'll be her. So you be you. And so it was like this, boom, boom, and then Doug went right past her. I mean, it was that fast. And I'm, taking up the rear. I see her. She's desperately trying to hang onto the kayak so it doesn't get swept down the river. And she's not wearing her life jacket and stuff is falling out everywhere. And I could just see that she's not okay. And so I'm like, okay. Here we go.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I have to stop to try to help her. So I'm like, okay. So I aim the kayak straight at the wall so I can stop, and I do the same thing. Hit, flip, and I come up and I'm like, okay. And so I like grab her kayak and I grab my kayak and I'm like, oh no, I let mine go.
I think you let yours go because I went downriver.
Yeah, so they were downriver. There was a sandbar. Yeah. Fortunately,
so
there was
her husband was already getting to the sandbar to get out of his canoe. I was downriver, turned around. Kayak. Yeah. I was downriver, turned around,
trying to paddle back.
And
so I'm screaming at them, "The kayak's coming! Don't lose anything. Our RV keys are in there." And so
here comes a kayak.
So I'm like, you take the stuff. I have my paddles still for some reason. So I've got both of her paddles. I've got her kayak, and I've got my like arm around her somehow. Like I have the paddles here, and I'm like, you're okay. And she's just like deer in headlights. And I'm like, it's okay, it's okay. And I'm like, put your life jacket on. And she goes, what? And I go, you need to put your life jacket on. She goes, oh, okay. So she grabs that out of the back of the kayak. She puts it on. And I go, okay, now you need to buckle it. Zip it or buckle it or whatever. Like, you need to, put it on. She's like, okay. And so it was shallow where the water only went to about our knee.
But it was moving.
But it was moving really fast. Yeah. Like it was pushing on us. Like I could stay steady, but it was pushing pretty hard. And so we're like, we're holding onto the kayak. I'm holding onto her. She's got her life jacket on now. I've got both paddles, and I see her husband running up the sandbar at us. And thank goodness that was where it was, because it could have been like our last kayak trip where there was nowhere to get out, and then we would have just been so screwed.
So I was downriver. I turned around, so I was being a goalie and catching this bag and then that bag, and there was a can came flying. I grabbed that and. I think your hat.
My hat.
I just went to reach for the hat and it went under just as I reached at it.
We lost
the hat.
I hate littering.
We did get the keys.
We got the keys, got the bags. So I think we ended up losing my hat and a shirt.
And a shirt, a t-shirt.
Yeah. And possibly a beer.
So as he comes towards you guys, you start moving.
Well, yeah. So he starts coming towards us, and as he's stepping across the river, this rushing river, I'm like, here, take these, and I throw the paddles at him, and so he takes the paddles and throws them ashore, and I'm like, okay, and the kayak's just sinking and sinking and sinking because the water is rushing so much, it's just rushing over and filling it, and so I was like, okay, so he gets there, and we like drag the kayak across, and we get her across, and everybody's just like, what just happened?
And I was still trying to come up river and to catch back up.
Yeah. So we hung out on the sandbar for a while. we stopped and had lunch.
Deflated there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Emptied the kayak of water.
Yeah. Fortunately, the lunch was on one of your.
Yeah, the dry kayak.
Yeah, one of the dry kayaks had our food, so that was a good thing.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? So it was quite an adventure.
Yes.
We ended up getting out, and that was the worst of it. But
dried out a little bit and got back in the kayaks very trepidatiously. And, okay, we'll continue.
Yeah, but two-thirds of our kayak adventures are full of falling,
death-defying.
Yeah.
lightning in the last one.
So, once we get on the road again full time, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, just scope out the river first. Well, look up reviews of the river first.
Right. Yelp the river.
And check the weather.
Yes. Well, so on the first one, when we were checking it, I should have said this in the last video, but the RV lady who checked us out, she was like,
the sun was going the other way, and all of a sudden it turned direction.
And she goes, we checked the weather. If we had known, we would not have let you gone out there. We're like, I'm sure she was like, please don't sue us or something. Like, what are you gonna do? It's weather. But yeah, kayaks so far are not our friends. So the next time we kayak, we're gonna have to get like
on a lake.
a lake. Yeah.
No riffles.
Riffles.
Wisconsin, what's a riffle?
It's got to be a riffle. Also, Wisconsin, what's a bubbler?
What's a hammock?
Why you gotta have words for things? We love you, Wisconsin.
We love you.
You're great. All right.
Your cheese and beer.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And you're very kind people. So, we hope you enjoyed this shorter kayak story. We'll be back for episode 4, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to our podcast, or you found us on Facebook or Instagram or any of our online platforms. We hope you've enjoyed what you've liked so far. Please give us a heart or a thumb or a subscribe. Tell your friends about us, and
lots more stories to come.
Lots more stories to come. We're looking forward to having you along on our adventures.
Thanks for being with us.
The Adventures of Julia and Doug. Do.
Have fun out there.
Bye. Okay. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Do. All right. Season 1, episode 3.
Yes.